Hello, Roger Hill at Wuthering Heights. Well, there's been a lot of talk about the Kilauea volcano and the East Rift Zone and the 20-plus cracks that have opened up. And, of course, a lot of talk about lava flow, all associated again with volcanics. The other thing is sulfur dioxide, and this is, of course, atmospheric, and this is the effects from the volcano. But it's not just the volcano, so I thought what I would do is explore looking at the Pacific Ocean here. This is instrumentation that is very, very sensitive. You can even see airliner traffic from San Francisco. This is from Honolulu basically to Los Angeles. And this telemetry via satellite is very, very sensitive. So you can really see some of the easterly winds and, of course, the east of the lee side of the Big Island and some of the wiggles back and forth that typically happen meteorologically sort of to the lee effects of an easterly wind on the lee side of the mountain ranges of two 14,000-foot volcanoes. So what we're going to do here is we're going to compare man-made sources of pollution, sulfur dioxide, versus what's being emitted out of Kilauea and the many cracks in the East Rift Zone currently. And first of all, this is SO2 SM, which is sulfur dioxide microgram per cubic meter, and as measured. And what is a good reading? So I have taken a couple of these samples here. You can see 250, 155. But if we zoom in here, I've seen some as high. Some of the pixels here is 469. There's 431. So depending on where I can get my cursor to land on that pixel, you can see the emissions are pretty high. But keep that in mind, 248 and so forth. Now, what's clean air or relatively absent? 0.05 microgram per cubic meter. So kind of gives you an idea, sort of a baseline, and you can see really clear quality here, 0.01. So as a comparison, just for kicks, I wanted to show you China, which is probably the most polluted area on the planet right now. And we're going to zoom in and see what sort of measurements we have. This looks pretty strong. So we're around 284.48 per cubic meter on sulfur dioxide. This is pretty nasty. 218, 293. There's a 337. Whoa, 497. Check that out. What about up here? You can see these emissions are insane, and they rival the volcano. Of course, atmospheric conditions have to be set up. Just look at that, 925. Wow. Okay. What about North America? Well, you can see all the point sources. These are from coal-fired power plants. Again, these are not volcanoes, but man-made sources. So let's take a little look here. 87, I'm seeing 76, 84. Here's one up north of Lake Huron, 174.58. That's probably some sort of sulfur coal-fired power. It might be metallurgy. I think there is a site up that way, and so forth. But you can see a lot of the pollution. This is now man-made pollution of sulfur dioxide. What about it? Well, let's check this out.
And the biggest thing that's in the news this last week is the sulfur dioxide, which when it's mixed up with the oxygen in the air and the water that we have plenty of in Hawaii and the sunlight, they become sulfuric acid. Sulfuric acid, from all the way back to high school, you remember, is the acid that actually can cause irritation, can burn your skin. But when you inhale them, it can actually cause the same damage inside your lungs. In addition to that, there's also different kind of particles like glass, tiny little called silica, that actually can also cause permanent damage in the future as well on the lungs.
And that comes out of the volcano as well?
That's all come up from the volcano, in addition from the ash. In addition to that, the volcano, when they mix in with all the moisture and so forth, create this phenomenon that we are very familiar with here in Hawaii called fog. So that is a volcanic smog. So that mixture actually causes a lot of damage, not immediately as well as permanently in the future.
And what kind of effects could it have?
So if you can look at it this way, anything that is breathing in that you can inhale, then you can actually smell is not good for you. You should be able to inhale in oxygen. But if you can smell something just like sulfur dioxide, that's probably damaging your lung airway, causing you to actually worsening your lung condition. If you have asthma, emphysema, chronic bronchitis kind of case like that, you can actually make those conditions worse.
Oh, interesting. And we were hearing that it's not so much, when you think of sulfur, it's not the sulfur smell that you're smelling with the sulfur dioxide, but a lot of people say you just feel the burning already. Oh, that doesn't sound pleasant.
Yeah, so the sulfur dioxide is what we usually, when we were in high school, we would do this rotten egg. That is sulfur dioxide.
Interesting. Okay, so the same exact thing that's coming out of the volcano. Plus more. There you go.
Young, or what they call the extreme of ages, the young one, the older one, the people that are pregnant, the people that are diabetic, patients that have kidney problems, and of course patients that have respiratory problems like asthma, emphysema, COPD patients like that. Those are pretty fine. And also those people that have to go work outside, exposed, like those people that are actually first responders, the people that are actually already there on the islands and so forth.
Okay, and then what's the best way to prevent yourself from getting any side effects from this? Because again, a lot of people are working out there. Is a store-bought mask sufficient enough?
No, not at all. As a matter of fact, that's the bad thing, that we have a false sense of security, thinking like those little masks is going to help. The one that you really need to have, if you're going to get it, is what they call the N95 rating. So the N-95 rating, that's probably the better one to use. But three things you should do. Try to avoid, try not to be there as close as you can. Try not to smoke while you're doing that, because that actually is making your condition worse. And try to stay indoor. Use air conditioning. And if you do air conditioning, even if it's in the car or in the house, make sure you put it on the recirculation mode so that you're not actually pulling in all the other bad air from the outside. So those are very important things. And then try to do exercises to help breathing, such as like, keeping your mouth almost partially closed, but then inhale through the nose and then blow through your mouth, called the pursed lips breathing. Or you can actually do like the opera singer. They inhale deeply through the nose and move the diaphragm down, called the diaphragmatic breathing. So those two techniques, called the pursed lip breathing and diaphragmatic breathing, actually help you with your exercise while you're breathing and stay.
Okay, you saw many of our coal-fired power plants. Now, this is in the 1980s to the 1990s. This is the Bush administration, the Obama administration. You can see they've made a lot of progress. Again, this goes back into the 80s, into the 90s. You get into the early 2000s, and then the Obama administration most recently, and this goes up through 2015. I'll let you look at it one more time. This is what concerns me when we deregulate emissions from the Environmental Protection Agency. Roger Hill, Wuthering Heights.